It's Thursday, which means we're thinking like entrepreneurs, and today we're going to talk about that whole intuition thing, and when you're hiring people to do work for you, which you should be doing, how to ask the right questions and make the right decisions. Hey, it's Erin with the Starters Club, and welcome to another episode of Think Like an Entrepreneur Thursday, where we discuss the mindset shift of going from an employee to an entrepreneur. Today is a topic so near and dear to my heart. I think this is so crucial because as a business strategist now, I do a lot of consulting. I see so many people getting the wool pulled over their eyes, and this was a topic in my second business that I had the wool pulled over my eyes, and I think that's why it's so important. And you know what? Sometimes I even have to listen to my own advice, as I just lost probably about $15,000 because I let a situation slide when I should have stepped in on a recent sale of some real estate. So, sometimes we have to be reminded of this over and over and over again. Now, when it comes to hiring people to do work for you, it's something, if you're going to be a great entrepreneur and a great leader, you're going to have to do it, okay? You're going to have to trust. You're going to have to bring in vendors. There's no way you can physically know it all and do it all. That's why people are experts in certain areas. So it's important that you hire those people. But it's also important that you don't step aside and just let them do their thing when you might be questioning if they're even doing it right. I see this a lot of times with things like, SEO, marketing, so many things. I could list it forever. But where I got screwed the very first time that this happened was it was over in PR. Now, there's a lot of great people who do PR, and I'm not dogging the actual people who do PR. But there's some, just like any profession out there, there's some bad seeds, okay? So when I was doing this, I had this vision. So I knew my ROI. I really understood ROI really well. It's how I was able to build my businesses, by saying I can, spend this in advertising, which generates so much in revenue. And of course, I spent less than I made, which was why I made money and was successful in business. So when I thought it was time for PR, this was a field I did not know. I did not understand. I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to be, I could envision, where I was going to get featured. I could see myself on news shows during, it was a spray tanning business during Skin Cancer Awareness Month, all these things. So I sat down and I hired somebody and I said, okay, here's my vision. Here's where I want to go. So first red flag was there's this major disconnect in what I felt and the areas she was really pursuing and working on. Very, very huge disconnect. Now, instead of saying something, I sat back and said, well, Erin, this isn't your forte. She knows what she's doing. You don't. So you just sit back and let her do her job, okay? The other areas was, I really questioned where I bought so many hours a month. It was $2,500 a month. I can't remember the hours I got, but it was so much, buying so much a month. I'm going to be honest with you, I still don't think she was using those hours. Now, she kept telling me this takes time, this takes time, this takes time. And, there are some things that are going to take time. But in my case, it was 10 grand down the drain and literally $100 back that I could track in business from that 10 grand. And it was something, had I kept doing, would have probably bankrupted my business, because I could have taken that $2,500 and generated anywhere from $500 to $7,500 back in business just off that $2,500 of new business, let alone what it generated in returning business. This is why it's really important to understand things always. Now, there are some things that are going to take more time. When you're hiring people, there are some things that, marketing, it doesn't happen overnight. But as somebody who's doing the hiring, you have every right to ask questions. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Every time your intuition is wrong, my gosh, listen to it. Mine has never been wrong. But other questions you can ask. So when they're in the it takes time mode, ask for a report of, they're spending, usually there's some sort of effort at play, whether it's an hour, whether they're going to say, this is what I do first month, this is what I do second month, this is what I do third month, whatever it is, you should have access to those things. So maybe you don't understand fully what they're doing. They should be able to at least tell you what they're doing, and you can see the effort involved. If you feel things are off track, you have every right to say, you know what, I feel like we're getting off track here. This is where, like where in my PR example, I had this vision of what I wanted, and I felt like she was pursuing completely different things. And instead of sitting her down and saying, I really want you to understand this is what I want, I didn't. And that was my mistake as the person who was hiring. I look at this with website, I look at this, even though we're not experts, we get ideas of what we're expecting in our head. It's really important that when you're hiring a vendor, an employee, whatever, you communicate those ideas. Now it's up to them to say, this is unrealistic, okay? You're hiring me to do a website, you've got like a $70,000 vision and you're on a $7,000 budget. But it's up to them to then say, here's what we can do for $7,000, okay? Then you can determine, do I go forward, do I not go forward? But you've got to put it all on the table. You've got to be honest and really let them know what you're expecting. And it's up to them to say, that is realistic, it's possible, or it's not. Please follow your intuition. Please ask those questions. Make them give you a status. Make them show you what they're doing. And if you're not happy with it, go back to the drawing board and say, I want to either break this contract because this is not what you promised me, and be very clear about that. Or, be able to go back and rework it or ask those things. Never sit back with an uneasy feeling. Never, because most of the time that's going to be money down the drain. Because if anything, if you have an uneasy feeling, talk to them and reassure them. But never sit back and say, you know what? They're the expert, let them do their thing. I had to step in, on this real estate transaction and fire her. And you know what? My intuition was right, because for 5 months that house sat on the market, and sure enough, when I cut her off and said, you're screwing this up, within 10 days after hiring a new agent, I had it under contract. So it's those things, you gotta follow it. You got to follow it. Feel the right to ask questions, find out the status, make sure you're on the same page. It's up to you to communicate all the, even though you're not the expert, it's up to you to communicate those ideas and really set that relationship off on the right foot. It's all about communication, but please never sit back and just say, I really don't know what they're doing. I hope it's going to turn out, but we'll see. You always have the right to ask questions. So hopefully this helps. As always, thank you so much for watching Think Like an Entrepreneur Thursday, where we talk about the mindset shift of an employee to an entrepreneur. We're here every Thursday. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next week.